It feels like every day there's a new headline about a cyber attack. But what's really catching my attention lately is the increasing intensity, and the sophistication of threats aimed right at our critical infrastructure.
Yeah.
These alerts coming from like the NSA and CISO about malicious actors targeting internet-connected operational technology.
Yeah.
Well, they're definitely raising some serious flags.
Absolutely. It's no longer just a hypothetical scenario, is it? These joint warnings, they really highlight a tangible and frankly growing danger to the very systems that keep our society running.
Exactly. Like power grids, water treatment.
You name it.
Yeah.
And that's really what we're diving into today. We've sifted through a whole range of crucial information, white papers from places like Kendall Electric, in-depth resources from CISO, industry reports, and even some forward-thinking perspectives on AI and supply chain risks.
Right. Our goal here is to kind of distill all of this down into what you, our listener, really need to know about the evolving threats, yes, but also the modern cybersecurity practices and frameworks designed to protect it all.
Think of it as your shortcut, maybe. Getting a comprehensive understanding without getting totally lost in the weeds.
Yeah, exactly. A shortcut.
And as we begin this deep dive, we really want to extend a special thank you to our sponsors who are making today's exploration possible.
Oh, absolutely.
We have two exciting sponsors launching today on Product Hunt. SecureCheck Tools, you can find them at www.securecheck.tools.
Okay.
And PolicyQuest DIY, that's at www.policyquest.diy. And both are offering a fantastic 25% discount just for their launch day. Use the coupon code LAUNCHEO.
LaunchEH, got it. Definitely check those out. All right, let's get right into it then. This joint alert from the NSA and CISA, it really underscores the escalating risk, doesn't it?
It does.
It's not just about digital mischief anymore. We're talking about potential, real-world disruption, serious consequences.
Precisely. And we don't have to look very far for evidence of this vulnerability, unfortunately.
No.
I mean, think about the Colonial Pipeline shutdown or that cyber intrusion targeting the Florida water treatment facility.
Right. That was scary.
And even the attacks on water and wastewater systems in Israel. These serve as really stark reminders of what's actually at stake when these critical systems get compromised.
They weren't just theoretical exercises, were they? They had real, tangible impact.
Exactly. And the data really reinforces this. A 2021 survey found that an alarming 83% of critical infrastructure organizations experienced OT cybersecurity breaches just in the preceding 3 years.
Wow, 83%. That's a huge number. It suggests that this is a really widespread problem.
It is, and the threat landscape, it's expected to become even more perilous, honestly. Gartner, for instance, has projected that by 2025, cyber attackers will likely, weaponize OT specifically to inflict harm on people.
Weaponize OT to harm people. That's a chilling thought, a significant evolution of the threat.
It really is.
And here's the point that really stood out to me, and it's a bit unsettling. A cybernews.com investigation apparently discovered that many industrial control systems have, surprisingly weak security. They're quite easily accessible to potential attackers.
Yeah, it's like locking the front door but leaving the back door wide open sometimes.
Right. And what's particularly noteworthy, I think, is the adaptability of these attackers.
Oh, absolutely. Gartner also highlighted that as OT systems get more sophisticated, more interconnected,
right,
embracing things like cloud IoT devices, the techniques attackers use are evolving right alongside them. It's this continuous cycle, this sort of cat and mouse game of innovation on both sides.
So who are the main culprits here? A SANS survey indicated that hackers are the leading source of intrusions in ICS networks. So largely external motivated actors we need to worry most about.
And zooming out a bit, the World Economic Forum, they pointed to a fundamental weakness in the whole ecosystem. Just the lack of strong, standardized security protocols across all those IoT devices being plugged into critical infrastructure now.
Yeah. Right, the Internet of Things everywhere.
Exactly. This fragmentation, it just creates countless entry points and frankly makes defense efforts much more complicated.
So, okay, let's get down to specifics then. What kinds of threats are we seeing most often targeting this sector?
Our sources outline several key categories. First up, malware.
Malware, yeah.
Most of us have a general idea what that is, malicious software, but the UK National Cybersecurity Center, they give a really clear breakdown of different types and, importantly, defense strategies.
Right, and in the OT context, what makes malware attacks different really is their potential to directly impact physical processes. Unlike, say, traditional IT malware that might go after data or system uptime, OT-focused malware could actually manipulate industrial equipment, that could lead to physical damage, safety incidents, maybe even environmental issues. Yeah, a much more tangible, potentially dangerous impact.
Okay.
Then we have advanced persistent threats, APTs. CISA offers some really technical deep dives on these, and the NSA gives guidance on mitigation. These are the more sophisticated ones, right? Often state-sponsored, designed for long-term infiltration.
Exactly. APTs are all about patience and stealth. They're not usually looking for quick disruption. They want to establish a persistent foothold inside a network.
Why? What's the goal?
Well, it could be espionage, stealing sensitive data, or maybe just laying the groundwork for future disruptive actions down the line, strategic objectives over time.
Okay, I see. Another big concern, insider threats.
Always a factor.
The U.S. National Counterintelligence and Security Center has specific guidelines, and CISA has a whole guide on setting up insider threat programs. It's a sobering reminder that vulnerabilities can come from within.
And that brings up a really critical aspect of security. Trust and access management. Insider threats, they can be unintentional, maybe negligence, lack of awareness. Yeah, exactly. Or they can be malicious, like a disgruntled employee, or maybe even someone who's been compromised working from the inside.
And of course, we can't overlook nation-state attacks. CISA specifically calls out threats from countries like China, gives concrete examples. This really highlights the geopolitical side of securing critical infrastructure.
That's right. It's not just criminal gangs. Nation-state actors often have significant resources, really advanced capabilities, and complex motivations that go way beyond just money.
Like strategic advantage, political leverage.
Or even cyber warfare, potentially, yeah.
And finally, ransomware. We saw that virtual discussion with CISA's acting director in the McCrary Institute, plus CISA's own guidance. It's proven to be incredibly disruptive and costly.
Hugely disruptive. And what makes ransomware particularly alarming in the OT environment is the potential for these cascading failures.
How so?
Well, if a key industrial control system gets encrypted, taken offline, it could disrupt essential services for, a massive population. It goes far beyond just the immediate ransom demand itself.
Okay, so the threats are clearly significant, varied, and pretty scary.
Yeah.
But what concrete steps can organizations actually take? Let's dive into some of the best practices and frameworks our sources highlight.
Right, that's the crucial next step, mitigation.
Yeah.
And we have several resources offering actionable guidance. There's a nice, concise NIST infographic, tips and tactics for control systems cybersecurity. It gives a quick overview of the fundamentals.
Okay, good starting point.
CISA and the Department of Energy also put together a high-level, just 2-page document. Cybersecurity practices for industrial control systems, quick read, and for folks needing to engage leadership, which is vital.
Always tricky.
Yeah. There's a helpful 2-pager, ICS Cybersecurity for the C-level, designed specifically to help have those essential conversations upstairs.
Those sound like excellent starting points, just getting a handle on the basics. And for those who need, a deeper dive.
Well, for that, CISA offers a much more comprehensive resource, a guide to critical infrastructure security and resilience. Really thorough. And it's also worth mentioning the Water ISACs publication, 15 Cybersecurity Fundamentals for Water and Wastewater Utilities. Now, obviously, it's focused on the water sector, but honestly, many of the fundamental principles they talk about, like doing thorough asset inventories, implementing robust user access controls, they're broadly applicable, really, across all critical infrastructure sectors.
Absolutely. Things like building a strong cybersecurity culture in the organization,
Yeah.
right? Making sure the whole supply chain is secure, implementing effective threat detection, continuous monitoring.
Exactly. These are foundational elements. They aren't specific to just one industry.
The robust security posture isn't just about the latest tech, is it?
Not at all. It's just as much about cultivating that security-conscious workforce and having really well-defined processes in place, people and process.
Now it's clear governments are increasingly focused on these vulnerabilities. Let's talk a bit about the evolving regulatory landscape and the various standards being developed.
Yeah, given the increasing frequency, the severity of these attacks, there's a definite push from governments globally to mandate stronger security, stronger resilience for critical infrastructure.
The U.S. seems particularly active here, right? That July 2021 presidential memorandum.
That's a key one, aimed squarely at enhancing cybersecurity for these vital sectors. The primary goal there is really fostering much closer collaboration between the federal government and the private sector.
Sort of a team effort approach.
Exactly, to collectively strengthen the national defense posture. Now, while the initial steps might be voluntary, our sources suggest a clear expectation that new, more formalized standards for managing cyber risk and security practices will emerge from this initiative.
So more rules are likely coming.
That seems to be the direction, and there are already resources out there to help organizations navigate this. CISA provides a good overview of that presidential memorandum's objectives, outlines the 9 key focus areas for both CISA and NIST in its implementation. And NIST itself is actively updating its special publication 882, which is the main guide to industrial control systems security, specifically in response to this directive.
Another really significant framework, one you hear about a lot, is the NIST Cybersecurity Framework, the CSF.
The CSF, very important.
It was initially developed for critical infrastructure, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But its principles have proven so valuable, it's now used across tons of industries, public and private.
That's right. What's particularly notable about the NIST CSF is that it's been mandatory for all U.S. federal information systems since 2017.
Oh, yeah.
Plus, many government contractors find that aligning their security controls with the CSF, maybe mapping them to standards like NIST 853, is a really effective way to demonstrate compliance and meet those contractual obligations. It's really become a foundational blueprint.
So if you're an organization looking to adopt the NIST CSF, where do you start?
Well, there are several helpful resources. NIST Interagency Report 8170 gives different approaches for applying the CSF. It's mainly geared towards federal agencies, but private companies can definitely leverage the insights. Plus, various sectors have developed their own specific implementation guides, like the Department of Energy for Energy, Homeland Security for Transportation, CISA for dams.
Tailored guidance. Makes sense.
Yeah. And beyond the broad NIST CSF, there are more specialized frameworks, too. The Industrial Internet Consortium, the IoT Consortium, they offer a security maturity model specifically for organizations dealing with industrial IoT systems, owners, integrators, decision makers.
Then there's ITER, ATT, and CK. This is a really comprehensive, widely respected knowledge base of adversary tactics and techniques based on real-world attacks.
Very valuable.
And importantly for us today, there's a specific section just for industrial control systems, for ICS. CISA frequently references ATT and CK in its advisories, like that October 2021 alert for water and wastewater systems. Understanding these tactics helps you anticipate attacks, really.
Absolutely. What's particularly valuable about my career area ATT and CK is that it gives everyone a common language, a structured way to understand how adversaries operate. So security teams can be more proactive, identify potential attack vectors, and develop more targeted defenses.
Okay. We also have international standards like ISO 27000 and IEC 62443.
Right. ISO 27000 is broader for information security management generally. IEC 62443, though, is laser focused on security for industrial automation and control systems. And notably, it really emphasizes security throughout the entire supply chain.
Recognizing vulnerabilities can pop up anywhere in a life cycle.
Exactly. And let's not forget, the UK's National Cybersecurity Centre, the NCSC, developed the Cyber Assessment Framework, or CF. That's 14 security principles to help critical infrastructure operators assess and improve their cyber resilience.
Okay.
And finally, from the U.S. Department of Energy, there's the Cybersecurity Maturity Capability Model C2M2. That one's very detailed, over 300 specific practices across 10 key domains.
Wow. Okay. So it's clear there's a wealth of guidance out there. But the challenge, as always, is putting these frameworks and practices into action.
That's the key. Implementation.
Our sources provide insights on implementation through the lens of the NIST Cybersecurity Framework's 5 core functions: identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. Let's start with identify.
That's a logical place to begin. The identify function is really all about developing that comprehensive understanding of your organization's cyber risks, your assets, the business context, basically knowing what you need to protect.
So on the identify front, Rockwell Automation offers an OT cybersecurity quick assessment tool. Sounds like it could help organizations quickly evaluate where they stand, find gaps, maybe even benchmark themselves.
Yeah, it can give you a quick snapshot. And to get better visibility into all those connected devices, especially in complex industrial settings, there are various IoT and IoT scanning tools available. Some are even publicly accessible. CS provides detailed guidance on using these to discover and inventory those internet-facing ICS devices you might not even know you have.
CISA also offers a free software tool called CSET, the Cybersecurity Evaluation Tool, specifically for assessing control system network cybersecurity.
That's a great resource. And for a more general approach to risk assessment, NIST Publication 830, while originally for federal systems, has a ton of methodologies and practices that are highly applicable to the private sector too.
And what about a human element? Insider risk.
Right. CISA provides a downloadable self-assessment kit specifically for evaluating and mitigating insider risks. And for organizations needing more comprehensive support in this identify phase, Rockwell Automation offers deeper services for network asset identification and ongoing monitoring.
Okay, moving on to protect. This is about putting safeguards in place.
Yeah.
Right, preventing attacks before they happen.
Exactly. Implementing the controls. Here we see resources like the ISC CERT advisories, that's the Industrial Control Systems Cyber Emergency Response Team.
Catchy name.
Yeah. They provide timely info on CVEs, common vulnerabilities and exposures found in various industrial systems and components. These advisories, plus the big CVE databases from NIST and MITRE, are crucial for just staying informed about known weaknesses.
And identity and access management, IAM, that's got to be a cornerstone of Protect.
Absolutely fundamental. The UK's NCSC offers a good introduction to IAM, including specific challenges unique to OT environments. And given those growing supply chain risks we mentioned, CISO has published a valuable white paper on defending against software supply chain attacks. It gives guidance for both the developers making the software and the customers using it.
That seems critical.
It is. For operators, the NCSC also has practical advice on protecting internet-facing services, super important as OT gets more connected. And with remote work and virtual collaboration being so common now.
Yeah, even in critical infrastructure.
CISO has even issued specific recommended security practices just for video conferencing for critical infrastructure entities.
Interesting. Okay, the next core function is detect. This is all about continuous monitoring, right? Spotting incidents, if and when they occur.
Precisely. Establishing the capability to identify cybersecurity events promptly, CISA actually offers some valuable free cyber hygiene assessment services.
Free? Like what?
Things like vulnerability scanning, phishing awareness testing for employees, even penetration testing, all tailored specifically for critical infrastructure organizations.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. They've also developed a helpful defense-in-depth overview infographic. It was initially for the nuclear sector, but the principles of layering security controls apply broadly across any critical infrastructure environment.
Layering defenses. Makes sense.
And for organizations thinking about outsourcing their security monitoring, maybe setting up a security operations center. The NCSC has a comprehensive guide for SOC buyers. Lots of good tips there. And for those wanting more integrated, in-house detection, Rockwell Automation offers anomaly and threat detection services, and they partner with leaders like Clarity and Cisco.
Okay, now we get to the crucial functions of respond and recover. This is about what you do during and after an incident to minimize the damage and get back online.
Absolutely critical. Having a plan before something happens. SANS Institute offers some very practical resources here, like downloadable incident communication templates, helps manage the messaging during a crisis.
Which can be chaotic. CISA has also developed tabletop exercise packages, so organizations can simulate scenarios and practice their response plans.
Yeah, in a safe, low-stakes environment. It's invaluable practice. The Department of Energy also has an incident response playbook. It's geared towards public power, but the framework is adaptable to pretty much any critical infrastructure sector.
Good to know.
And the NCSC provides a step-by-step guide for actually developing your incident response plan, plus another guide on building an effective incident response team.
Even the U.S. Secret Service Cyber Investigations Unit has published an introductory guide on preparing for a cyber incident, based on the NIST CSF principles.
Right. And demonstrating the real-world value, there's that compelling example of New Orleans successfully thwarting a major ransomware attack precisely because they had and effectively used their incident response plan.
Proof that planning works.
Absolutely. These last two functions really hammer home that a strong cyber strategy isn't just about prevention, it's equally about being ready to manage and recover when incidents inevitably happen.
Okay. One of CISA's 9 key focus areas is secure architecture and design. It seems like building security in from the very beginning is essential.
Precisely. You can't easily bolt security on afterwards, especially in OT. Integrating cybersecurity features right from the start, things like network segmentation to isolate critical systems, implementing robust firewalls, intrusion detection systems, using DMZs, demilitarized zones, to control network traffic. These are fundamental for reducing your overall attack surface and improving your ability to detect and respond.
And the concept of zero trust seems to be gaining a lot of traction here.
Huge momentum, yeah.
The core idea being what? Never automatically trust any user or connection, even if they're inside the network.
That's the essence of it. CISA now views adopting zero trust principles as an enhanced objective, especially following that presidential mandate on cybersecurity. It's a fundamental shift away from old perimeter-based security.
So less trust but verify, more never trust, always verify.
Exactly. Continuous verification. CISA has an interactive resource page on secure architecture design, with definitions and docs for various ICS components. The NCSC also offers great recommendations on design principles and operational technology.
They also have a white paper on common security architecture anti-patterns, things not to do in OT design.
Yeah, basically pitfalls to avoid. Very useful. CISA has also released a draft zero trust maturity model for federal agencies, but it's got valuable insights for the private sector too.
And the NCSC has a comprehensive article on secure remote access design, which became super critical during the pandemic.
Extremely important. NIST Special Publication 800-207 offers a really detailed discussion of zero trust architecture overall. And for understanding how zero trust applies specifically to OT, looking at insights from Rockwell Automation and John Kindervag, who's often credited with originating the model, is worthwhile.
Good pointers. And you mentioned funding earlier. The U.S. infrastructure bill includes cybersecurity grants.
It does, which can provide crucial funding for organizations to actually implement these kinds of architectural improvements. Rockwell Automation even developed a free cybersecurity plan template and a checklist to help build a formal plan, maybe suitable for those grant applications.
That's very helpful. It's also incredibly useful to see resources tailored to specific industries within critical infrastructure, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. One size rarely fits all here. Our sources highlight several industry-specific resources that offer adaptable info.
Like what?
Well, CISA has a concise overview of pipelines' cyber risk mitigation. The EPA has compiled a big list of water sector best practices and also offers a specific checklist for incident response, just for the water sector.
Okay.
The EU Agency for Cybersecurity, ENISA, has a detailed guide on industrial IoT specifically for smart manufacturing. And the American Waterworks Association published a valuable white paper on cyber risk in the water sector.
So lots of tailored guidance out there if you look for it. Given how fast things change in cyber, staying informed must be paramount.
Absolutely critical. CISA offers email lists for news and alerts. Signing up for those seems like a must for anyone in this space. And of course, for organizations needing expert guidance, Rockwell Automation offers a whole suite of services: assessment, design, implementation, managed services, the works.
Okay, finally, we should probably touch on this growing idea of security convergence.
Ah, yes. Convergence. Important concept.
It describes the need for collaboration integration between physical security and cybersecurity functions, right? Because the lines are blurring.
Exactly. Driven by how much we rely on interconnected systems now, and especially with Industry 4.0 blurring the lines between physical and digital realms. CISA defines it as formal collaboration between previously disjointed security functions.
Makes sense. An ASIS Foundation study called it getting security risk management functions to work together seamlessly, closing those gaps between functions.
Right. And Dave Tyson defined it as integrating all security resources, physical, cyber, personnel, to get enterprise-wide benefits like better risk mitigation, more efficiency, even cost savings, basically breaking down those traditional silos.
What's driving this convergence?
Well, big drivers are advances in cyber physical systems, CPS, and just the explosion of the Internet of Things, IoT, in industrial settings. We're seeing risk convergence where a cyber threat can have direct physical consequences.
Like shutting down a power grid.
Exactly. And conversely, a physical breach could be used to expand the cyber attack surface. The World Economic Forum's 2020 Global Risks Report really highlighted this interconnectedness.
There's also organizational convergence moving beyond siloed teams.
Right. Changing the structure and culture. That ASIS study found that while only about a quarter of organizations had fully integrated security functions, almost all of those who had reported significant positive results.
Interesting. And solutions convergence, like unified tech platforms.
Yeah, the emergence of tech that covers both cyber and physical domains to handle these hybrid threats.
Okay, another critical area, especially for manufacturing, but really any sector relying on complex equipment, is supply chain security.
Absolutely vital. For uptime, for safety, ensuring the security and integrity of everything throughout the supply chain. That means rigorously vetting your suppliers, doing regular audits, verifying component authenticity.
Those complex.
It can be. Proactive risk management is key. Vendor assessments, contingency plans, transparency, and adhering to guidelines from NIST and CISA is crucial here too.
You mentioned IEC 62443 earlier. That seems relevant here.
Very relevant, especially Part 4.1, which focuses on the secure product development lifecycle, and Part 4.2, addressing security capabilities of individual components. And NIST SP 800-218, the Secure Software Development Framework, SSDF, provides a really comprehensive set of practices for developing secure software across its lifecycle.
One last point here.
Yeah.
The increasing use of unmanaged devices, IoT devices, in manufacturing and critical infrastructure due to Industry 4.0, that must be expanding the attack surface massively.
Hugely. A recent Armis Forrester report indicated something like 66%, two-thirds of manufacturers have already had security incidents related to these kinds of devices.
Wow.
It highlights the urgent need for better visibility, just knowing what's connected, and deploying things like agentless security solutions that can cover these devices that traditional tools might miss.
Okay, so to try and bring this all together,
Right.
Protecting critical infrastructure today, it really demands a comprehensive, multifaceted, and constantly evolving strategy, doesn't it?
It really does.
It involves adopting robust security frameworks like NIST CSF or IEC 62443, implementing proactive measures across all those layers. Identify, protect, detect, respond, recover. Paying super close attention to supply chain vulnerabilities and increasingly embracing this convergence of physical and cybersecurity, especially with all these IoT devices flooding in.
And it's absolutely vital for organizations to truly understand the unique OT environments they manage. Security policies, the solutions they choose, they have to be specifically designed for those distinct challenges. A generic IT approach just won't cut it.
Yeah, OT is different. So here's maybe a final thought for you, our listener, to consider. Given how deeply interconnected our critical infrastructure is, power, water, transport, everything, how can we, both as individuals and as organizations, cultivate a greater sense of collective responsibility for safeguarding these essential systems in this increasingly digital, increasingly complex world?
That's a big question. It really goes beyond just technology, doesn't it? It requires a kind of societal commitment.
It does. We strongly encourage you to explore the many resources we've touched on today and to continue learning about this really vital topic.
Absolutely. Stay informed.
And once again, a huge thank you to our fantastic sponsors for today's deep dive. SecureCheck Tools, that's at www.securecheck.tools.
And PolicyQuest DIY at www.policyquest.diy.
Right. Both launching today on Product Hunt. And remember, they're offering our listeners that special 25% discount with the coupon code LAUNCHEH.
LAUNCHEH. Definitely check them out and show them some support.